Welcome to Women Seeking Wholeness. I am Cherie Burton. This is a podcast for women who long to feel, express, and be who they truly are. I loved my talk with Mickaela, our discussion on all things, everything from being in your body to owning your magnetism, how we can come into our own authenticity with our spiritual paths, and just really how to be with our own humanness instead of shunning and seeing our vessel as weak or an enemy to God or something to be feared or mistrusted, that we can actually align with our humanness and express our divinity through the body. After all, that's why we have bodies to begin with. You can find Mickaela McNatt on Instagram, and her name is spelled Mickaela. McNatt is MCNATT. She has a Magnify More movement, and so you can check that out as well through her Facebook, Magnify More. Reminding you too that if you feel a calling to step in and express yourself through a business or a hobby or some kind of soul calling, but you don't know what it is or how to access it or find it, you can go to feminineBossSchool.com. That's my new Feminine Boss School 12-week course on goddess confidence, finding your soulpreneur path, and then balancing it all with family life. Please go check that out and see if it serves you. It's only $97. I put a lot of heart and soul into it, and I'm really excited with how it turned out. We'll be doing an official launch down the road, but I just wanted to put that little bug in your ear, especially after you listen to this episode, because you'll see that stepping into your feminine essence means gifting and expressing something to humanity. And that is likely why you are on the earth right now. Mickaela, welcome to Women Seeking Wholeness. I'm so grateful that you, despite the fact that I just found out you're in an RV, where are you at right now? Where in the world is Mickaela McNatt?
We're in Durango, Colorado right now. This is a very new adventure for both my partner and I over really just the past 2 months. It was, I think, May of 2020, we decided, all right, we're going to travel full time. We're not going to let the current state of the world slow us down. So we packed up our stuff and bought an RV, and we're traveling full time right now. So yes, I'm happy to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Well, the more that I dive in and look at what you're about and just our pre-conversation, I mean, you're really in alignment with a lot of the things that I get super excited about teaching and sharing with women. And so with everything that you've experienced in your body, because I always start here, right? Like there's a reason that people feel so committed to raising the consciousness or teaching or being a healer or a mentor, which you definitely are. So what have you lived in your body that you're willing to share with us as a precursor to diving into this content that you teach?
Yeah, I love that question and how you've framed it in the body. So I actually got my start in the coaching world and the healing world, in the fitness industry. And I was a CrossFit coach for 7+ years. And it really did give me the inspiration, the clarity around, I am here to help. I am here to guide. I am here to serve. With that experience, however, I faced a really unhealthy relationship with my body, with the scale, with what I saw in the mirror, with food. I had a really toxic relationship with everything self-love. I had every ounce of my worth outside of myself, based off of the scale, based off of what I could lift in the gym, based off of what the score was of the workout. And it wasn't until I really began I guess we can call it my personal development journey. I think I picked up the book, The Universe Has Your Back. Someone gifted it to me.
Gabrielle Bernstein.
Yes. And it was like something shifted in me of, what have I been doing? I have been living all in my head, all outside of myself. Really miserable, I would say. And that's a charged word, but reflecting back, I was really unhappy. I was doing all the things that I thought I should be doing. At that time, I was in college, and I was 4.0 GPA. I was doing all the things that I thought I should do, pushing myself hard in the gym, pushing myself hard as an athlete. But it was really not fun. It was really draining. It was really emotional. I was, like I said, I was so outside of my body. I was so, drained, unhappy, really, really down. So I picked up this book. I wish I could remember who had gifted me that, because I'm super grateful. One, it was another perspective of, okay, wait a second, there's something greater that I'm connected to that is supporting me in some way. That was a new perspective for myself, coming from a more religious background. And this knowing that it is within me and I am within it. That was like another kind of like bubble being burst in my mind of, wait a second, I thought there was this big man in the sky that was, judging me based off of how I performed, or if I was good or if I was bad. So at that time, it sparked a journey of spiritual growth. It sparked a journey of self-love. It sparked a journey of just going deeper within myself. And I would say, today I'm a spiritual mentor and healer. I'm super far in the woo nowadays. At early stages, it was really just, I would say, the personal development world that really got me going, in the sense of just new perspective and learning other people's ways of being, learning other people's ways of conscious creation. We can have the lives we desire. We can be happy. We don't have to look in the mirror and hate what we see, right? So I kind of went down that path. I did end up I had a quick stay in the corporate world. I did, out of school, get a job in sales again, like doing the things that I thought I should be doing.
Sorry, you're breaking up there a little bit. Can you repeat what you studied at school?
Yes. I studied finance. I don't think I said that, but I studied finance. I ended up getting a job. I grew up in Florida, got a job out in Colorado, and continued the shoulds. I thought I would climb the corporate ladder. When life shifted into more of a career focus, I think organically my focus around fitness did begin to dwindle. There wasn't a huge moment where I was like, I'm done with this side of my life, but it was just a shift. It was a journey. And then once again, very quickly realized, oh my gosh, I'm following the shoulds. I'm following the plan that the world has told me I should be doing. So very quickly, in that short stay in corporate America, I decided, okay, this is not for me. I am super unfulfilled, super unhappy. And I brought it back to what feels fun for me right now, what feels expansive. And it brought me back to coaching, guiding women, leading women, lights me up. And then from there, I started my online coaching business, and long story short, have gotten to where I am today as a spiritual mentor, healer, Reiki master, really diving into all things healing, all things transmuting of shadow into the light, and really helping women live their most embodied, authentic, vibrant, aligned life, whether that's business, whether that's in relationships with their body, right? It was this constant, what worked for me, I've got to share with other women. What helped me, what was powerful for my journey, I've got to share with others. So I have evolved in many ways as a coach, starting off as life and going to business, but I think that's fun, and bringing it back to what feels good in my body. I've really allowed that to guide me. And as I have grown as a human, my role as a guide for others has evolved as well. But that was a quick
That's awesome.
That's how I've gotten to where I am today.
I love to hear awakening stories. I love to hear where you can literally trace back almost to the moment, or the, I guess, precursor to where you shifted everything, which was somebody giving you that book.
Yeah.
And I think one of the beautiful things about how the universe works, and our spirit guides, the universe, God, angels, whatever we want to call that, the divine feminine force, brings us these things. And when we have our eyes open and our ears open
Mm-hmm.
to
Yes.
see, because we often feel so alone. We often feel adrift, and we don't notice enough. And that's a lot of what the feminine brings is when we notice, we start to notice.
Yes.
So
Yes.
I love some of the things that you've said. One of the questions you pose to yourself, uh, are you living outside of yourself?
Mm.
Let's dive into that just a bit if we can,
Yeah.
because that's a powerful statement or question to go and ask yourself. So
Yeah.
what did that mean to you? What was that about? Living outside
Yeah.
yourself?
Outside of myself, maybe for those listening, something that maybe clicks is like living in our heads. For me, it was always what is going to make my parents happy? What is going to make the world think that I'm successful? What path can I take? What can I do that's going to give me some form of external validation, rather than what is going to fill my soul up, what is going
Hmm.
to light my fire, what feels expansive in my body. And I mean, we live in a world where we were conditioned from infancy, but also, if we want to, go there, past lives, generational, we live in
Sure.
this society that tells us to do that, right? It's how much money can you make? How much clout can you receive? What status do you have? So, I mean, I definitely bought into that for many years, as most women do.
Yeah.
And it was that moment. And if I could pinpoint it, I mean, I didn't necessarily have like on my knees spiritual awakening, like smack me in the face. It was definitely a journey, I would say, of gaining awareness, getting to get curious. I think curiosity is the most beautiful thing. Like, follow the curiosity. It was this curiosity of seeing other women who were being in a different way for a reason, because the way they just were life. It wasn't like, oh, they had a really successful job or they had a really great business that looks cool. It was this embodied like state of magnetism that they were
Right.
in. Got me curious because I did not have that. I was following the rules. I was following the book. I was trying to check all the boxes to make sure that my boss thought I was doing enough and being the good employee, right? I
Hmm.
began to get curious of these other women that were being in this really vibrant way, and I got curious and I started to explore. So the idea of like being outside of the body, I would say, is constantly living for others, constantly doing for others before you, and doing is important, and we could talk about the divine masculine, but I think what we have to start with is the being. How do you feel in your body? When's the last time you tapped into your heart space and asked this question of what lights my fire? What
Right.
makes me feel good? What makes me excited to start my day? I think that's where the magic really happens. It's like that level of curiosity, that level of, okay, I'm just gonna look here for a second. And I think that question you pose is beautiful to
Mm.
start with. Am I living outside of my body?
Yeah, well, and everything that you're saying totally resonates, and I kind of going back to your original story of just maybe growing up more with a different way of seeing God and leaving out the
Mhm.
feminine.
Mhm.
It's just this, big white man in the sky that's micromanaging your life and waiting for you to mess up, and then you got to repent.
Yeah.
And oh, I missed that. I'm not worthy. I must have done something wrong. Oh, forgive me. Versus no, like, go be you.
Mm.
You do you. What expands you? What enlarges your soul? And I think traditionally, and I know you'll back me up on this as I'm reading between the lines of what you've already shared, that
Mhm.
we leave out, well, okay, traditionally, yes, the feminine has 100% been left out of religion.
Mhm.
But deeper, just the way of the feminine and the body, just the whole body shaming around the body being the vehicle of temptation and not being able to trust the body because it will lead you down a certain wrong path, or it will make
Mhm.
you you're such a sinner and there's so much you've got to just keep that, the energy of trying to keep on top of where you might be going wrong. And what's up with your body and why are these thoughts coming in and why am I feeling this emotion? And I mean, it's exhausting.
Exhausting. Yes.
And you think that God is micromanaging all of that and trying, and so you're like, I got to get purified. I got to get rid of all this instead of just being with it and
Yes.
honoring that it's a part of your life station.
Yes. Yes. I always say our souls chose humanity for a reason. Like our souls up in wherever they hang out, they chose to be a human for a reason. And humans have an entire spectrum of human experiences. Why would we choose to be here if we didn't want to experience and I don't even want to call them highs and lows, because once again, that's like that black and whiteness of it, but the full spectrum, right? The intense emotions, the mild emotions, the peace, the fear, the excitement, whatever it is, they came here to experience the fullness of it. And we talked about this a little bit before the recording started, but what if we were conditioned to believe in the divinity of that rather than the shame around that? What a beautiful world we would live in if we were taught to love our emotions, and if we were taught to allow our body to guide us. I mean, one of my mantras I live by: the body never lies. The body never lies.
Never.
What if we were taught to lead with that rather than leading with what makes most sense? What's the logic here? What's going to, give me the best result, right? What if we really dropped in to the body and allowed that to lead us? And that's alignment. If we allow the body to lead us, we will always be acting from our highest selves, being from our highest selves. And I believe we would live in the most beautiful planet if everybody lived in alignment with their highest selves. So I second that all the way.
And what would it be like for young children and adults too, but let's just start with children, to sit in church and hear the message, there's nothing wrong with you. You're whole, you're perfect. We do hear you're a child of God, but what if we heard there's nothing that you need to achieve or accomplish or do, or there's nothing, you're not fundamentally broken. What if we operated from the paradigm of whole? And I love the word wholeness. That's why my podcast is called Women Seeking Wholeness, because we got so programmed with that. We still are being perpetually programmed with the fact that we are defunct, that fundamentally flawed, and needing to, again, stay on top of this whole spiritual, I call it the hamster wheel of perfection. But you gave a phrase to me, the divinity of humanness, as we were talking earlier. And I love it because that's why I love to study the life of Mary Magdalene and her gospel, because she talked about this. Well, there's a Greek term in it's Coptic Greek, but Coptic Egyptian / Greek is what her original texts were found in the deserts in Egypt. But there was a phrase in there in Greek called anthropos that was written into her gospel, which she was reteaching from Christ teaching her. And that term is fully human and fully divine. Yes. And so our church fathers from centuries, I would say millennia ago, have typically had us basically browbeat our humanness and deny our humanness in place of, and spiritually bypassing too. But she was teaching, as was Christ, I believe, that the body is as you said, it never lies, and it's our vehicle for empowerment rather than our enemy, a natural enemy to God. Yes. So fully human, fully divine. I'm totally on board with that.
Yes, I'm actually reading Mary Magdalene Revealed right now. So
Megan
we're on the same
okay.
I was going to say, when we really look at the teachings of Jesus, he was not teaching, worship me, bow down to me. I am, the king in the sky that's going to, accept you into the gates of heaven. When you really start to look, he's really teaching like an embodiment. It's an unconditional love. It's an unconditional forgiveness. So it's really interesting when you start to go down. Actually, I just left Sedona, Arizona, before we ended up in Colorado, and I found a copy of the Nag Hammadi text. So I am like geeking out, diving into
I'm
that
geeking
right
out
now.
on that right now too.
Yes. So I'm really curious to, go back in history and really see where was that shift.
So the shift, so interesting. That's why I use the term church fathers, because they made her gospel and many others apocrypha, including the Pistis Sophia, all of the feminine texts, and even some of the writings or teachings of the other apostles like Thomas and Philip. During the Nicene Creed, and I think even a little bit before that, those texts, even though they were just as ancient as the teachings of the early apostles, but only the 4 gospels that made it into canonized scripture, there's so much more. But the church fathers basically cast those out, and so they were left and preserved by certain groups who basically had to hide them during the Roman persecution. Anyway, so I'm right there with you. I geek out on those.
Yes.
Those Gnostic Gospels are so powerful because they sort of teach the antithesis of what is being perpetuated with patriarchal tradition and religion. And that is all about going within and sourcing the beauty and divinity that lives there and having your own sovereignty and really aligning with your humanness and embracing that aspect. Now, Mary Magdalene's gospel does talk about subduing the ego a lot. So lest we think that, everything about us is, completely on board with truth, we do have aspects and forces of our ego. And that's the 7 devils that were cast out of her.
Yeah.
Were actually 7 ego powers, as I'm sure you already know by studying Megan stuff. But yeah, it's just like, but we still work with those. We don't deny them as evil or horrible, because what we're doing is denying ourselves. And how can the divinity express through us if we're constantly beating ourselves up and saying, I have this in me. I'm a loser. I'm horrible.
Yeah. And I'm about halfway through the book. So I'm like learning as you're saying all of this right now. I'm loving it. The way that I'm an NLP practitioner, neuro-linguistic programming practitioner, the way that they teach like the ego or like it's a lot of the subconscious, right? And the deeper that I've gone within my own healing journey, I almost love to use the word inner child rather when I'm looking at some of those shadow sides to myself, because then it immediately, when you can view that voice as a younger version of yourself, it immediately brings in this level of compassion rather than this level of, I even feel like that word ego sometimes has like this negative connotation as if it's bad. And it is some shadow energy there for sure. It's not serving us always. But when I'm like really going into the trenches of like shifting out of some non-resourceful beliefs or non-resourceful energy, really going in to heal, I love to even call it like, that's my inner child. That's this younger part of me that was told you can't have it, or you're not good enough, or whatever it is. Right. And I immediately just can feel this shift, this vibration shift within me of how can I, instead of beating down that voice, really love on that voice, because she's scared right now. She is really confused right now. So I even love to look at it from that perspective too. It's really powerful. Yeah.
That's beautiful. Yes. Bringing in that radical self-compassion as opposed to like, you did this or you did that, or you're not, it's all the conversation around not enough.
Yes.
So I know you teach a lot about creating infinite abundance.
Yeah.
And it's interesting that you brought up NLP, because one of my dearest soul associates on this planet, my first cousin, Kendra Adair, she's a master NLP trainer, and she's, I've learned a lot here and there. I've just extrapolated different things about, deep subconscious programming and how, we are all in a trance, basically all of us. We're just depending on where we're at. Like there's so much groupthink that we just take for granted as truth that is not, because we're in these states of unconsciousness. As it relates to creating abundance, and as you and I both know, it's more than just monetary compensation when we're talking about abundance. How do you guide women to that? I know that's a loaded question, but how do we?
Dive in.
Yeah.
I would say, so when I use that word infinite abundance, we could also call it unconditional love for self. And I'm all about creating, like you said, financial abundance, creating new experience for yourself, traveling, getting the promotion, attracting the new partner. Like, I think expanding and creating, we're divine co-creators. We are meant to create here in this lifetime. I think all of that is beautiful. And I think where I have really seen a shift within myself is grounding first into, I have everything I need right here in this moment. And I think when we read books on manifestation or consume books or consume podcasts, that word right now, manifestation, is super, buzzword, and I love it. And we can manifest and it's fun. And I think it can become really toxic when you think you constantly need to create more for yourself. And when you really look at it, it's the same beliefs that we've been taught from day one, of it's outside of yourself. You constantly need more. You constantly need that next thing. So I think what's really potent and healing and powerful is when we can bring it back to this present moment, really bringing it back to right here. I am safe in my body. Safety is so important before we can manifest. I am in this moment perfect. I am worthy here in this moment. I am worthy of this breath. I am worthy of speaking my truth. Here in this moment, I have everything I need. And when you can ground into that, and we're humans, right? There are days where I'm like, yes, I've got it all. And then there are other days where I'm like, oh my gosh,
I don't know Jack.
Yeah, like I don't know what I'm doing. I am spiraling, right? So it's a journey, right? It's not this one day you wake up and you're like, I've got it all. I'm perfect. I don't need anything, right? But it's this constant coming back to, I have everything I need in this moment. And when we can make this a practice, and when we can make this a work, a practice is the right word for it. It's this tapping into the reality of infinite abundance, because when you can fully embody that belief of I do have everything I need, and I am divinely perfect, and I am divinely human, and I am this beautiful co-creator, and I'm safe here in this body. I'm safe to want new things, and I'm also safe to be here in this moment. That is what I call infinite abundance, because when you embody that, you've got it all, right? You tap it. The way I see it is like quantumness of like you kind of like pull in that reality that is parallel to us right now. We pull in that reality, and even if it's for a moment, right? Even if it's for 5 minutes of your meditation, whatever it is, it's tapping into that reality here and now. And it's when we can do that. I saw a really beautiful quote. It's when we realize, oh, I want to get it right. Essentially, when you realize needing nothing attracts everything. It's that like, I've got it all right here in this moment.
Yeah.
That's when
it's kind of like you are that which you are seeking.
Yes. Yeah. Yes, exactly that. So that's really when I use that term infinite abundance, it's that moment of like, I'm here right now, and that's all I need, and that's enough. So I guess how I guide women to that, it is through a lot of healing. I will be honest, early in my coaching days, it was a lot of let's manifest, let's focus and visualize, and let's, really just focus in on what you want. And that's unhealthy when there's chains holding you down, when there's fears holding you down, when there's heaviness still in the body that is ready to be transmuted. And I am so grateful for my new learnings, so grateful for the healing modalities that I have attracted into my reality to explore. I really think sometimes even the word healing is, people are afraid to go there, but I always say things come up. You have to see it to heal it. So the fact that the fears are coming up, or the limiting beliefs are making their appearance, or the shame or the guilt or whatever it is, the fact that you're feeling it means it's ready to be transmuted back to the light, which to me, like as healer, I'm like smiling giddy, like it's ready to go. Like, let's do it. Let's heal it. Right. So I think that's a huge part, is first looking at what energies, what limiting beliefs, what subconscious biases, whatever it is, whatever we want to call it, inner child wounding, what is ready to be released. Because when we release that, when we can like break the chains, release the chains, we can rise to those higher, more loving, unconditional loving frequencies that allow us to consciously and intentionally create that life of truth, create that life of authenticity, create that life of abundance. Whether it is you want a new job, you can have that. Whether it is you want the new partner, the, higher income, whatever it is, from that place, it's going to be much easier to co-create because we no longer have those little voices in the back of our mind that keep making their appearance saying you can't have it. So it's really healing to rise, releasing to rise. That's a phrase I use often with my clients. It's like we got to do the heavy lifting sometimes first before we jump into the magic and the play and the land of unicorns that manifesting is.
Yeah, that's so interesting because I do a lot of business mentoring. I run a wellness business, and a lot of women on my team, they just get really, really excited, and they're doing all that stuff you said, like visualizing and this, and then, they get all excited. And then there's just this, there's this retreat that often happens. It's a second guessing, and it's, they get so heady with the visualizing and that the body can't meet that. And so they become demotivated. And then they take it personally, like there's something wrong with them because they can't manifest. And so it kind of goes back to what we were saying about religion. We hear all these beautiful, we sit in church, or we learn theology and doctrine, and it feels, it can feel really exciting, or, it can feel like, oh, wow, that's amazing. I can only ever hope to aspire to that state. And I see this also happening in a lot of personal development circles, where it's all up in the head, or there's excitement even in the heart, but because there's not any grounding with the body, like you said, being in the now and creating safety and containment with your energy, that you can't manifest. And so I just want to echo everything you just said, that you have to dive in. I think you said release to rise. Yeah. It's like what needs to get out of the way so that and how do you get back in your body and ground yourself so that you can have the desires of your heart and source those in you, and that they can actually land in the physical, not just as ideas or great spiritual principles or whatever, but that you can actually be with it and land it, ground it.
Yes, for sure. And I'm definitely not a quantum expert, but we live in an energetic universe. We live in a universe made up of waves of energy. The way I see it and the way I've experienced it is the universe works off of feelings. Like the way we feel in our body is how we call things in. It's how we call experiences in, new realities. It's how we communicate with it, God, universe, source, whatever you want to call it. And when we're so up in the head, exactly what you said, so heady with the visualizations, or I did my affirmations. Well, did you feel the affirmations? Did you feel the vision? Did you feel in every cell of your body what it's going to feel like with that new reality coming in, with the new body, with the healthier mind and soul, with the new relationship? Did you feel that in your body? Because it's that feeling that's going to match that vibration of that reality out there in the universe in order to call it in. So that getting back into the body, which, as we know, it's so hard for women to get back in the body because we've been conditioned for so long to stay out of it. But that feeling component, exactly that, the grounding into the humanness of it. Can you feel it in your body right now? Such a huge piece. And when you've got the blocks, when you've got the limiting beliefs, it's going to be really hard to tap into that because you don't feel worthy of it. So how are you going to call that into your body?
And going back to like what's handed to you doctrinally or theologically or even principle based, like we were told, here's your set of things to believe. And I can tell you from an early age, there were things that did not resonate.
Yeah.
And I kept waiting for them to resonate.
Yeah.
And I just felt less worthy that why are all these other people accepting this? And it doesn't feel good to me. For instance, like
isn't that interesting?
Yeah, it is. Like, I'll just share this and my listeners know this.
Yeah,
That,
I'd love to hear.
my heritage is Mormonism. And so it can be a very beautiful culture. And there's also some toxic perfectionism that comes from it as well. But theologically and doctrinally speaking, I knew that I first learned at age 9 that the practice of polygamy was a thing with early prophets in the church. And I remember when I first heard it, it was almost like somebody hit me in the stomach.
Mm.
And I was like, is this, and then as I advanced, in years, especially as a teenager, I'm like, why is this not bothering a lot of people? Is it just me that this doesn't
Mm.
feel right? And it never left. And I would say grew worse and worse. I just wanted to offer that, like, we do, like you said, the body doesn't lie. And it wasn't actually until I took yoga teacher training that really drove home the sacredness of the body physiologically, not just because the spirit's housing it, but
Yeah.
the actual chemical releases and the systems and the tissues and the blood and the DNA and everything about the body is an intelligent system of truth. And
Mm-hmm.
so we are taught that we can't trust that. We were programmed with the fact that it is leading to our downfall, and that I was literally taught in my heritage that it's an enemy to God, the natural man. And
Oh.
so I just felt so empowered to let go of needing to accept the doctrine of polygamy, and
Mm-hmm.
that because it does not land well in my body and I can't make it fit no matter what I read or who I talk to try to help me, whether it's
Yeah.
apologetics or the fact that a prophet did it, it doesn't matter. It's, to me, it's wrong. It's not of God in my body. Um,
Yes.
so it was very liberating to just unequivocally say no to that, just because
Yeah.
it was handed to me by someone else and said, this is a higher truth and a principle, and you don't understand it right now, but someday you will. And I was
Yes.
like, this is the now. My body is now. you know
Yes. Oh, that's so powerful. And my mother was raised Mormon, and I went to the
oh
Mormon church through my early years. So it's interesting that we've connected.
mm,
So I've definitely, I think, I don't know if inherited. I have early memories of the Mormon church. She did leave when we were, I would say, 5, 6, 7 years old. But it is interesting. And this idea of like, how you knew in your body, like, this is not mine to hold. This is not my belief to hang on
mhm,
to. How many beliefs do we hang on to that were just given to us, that were just here,
right.
this is yours. And we just are told to hold on. And it's really beautiful to now, as older, wiser beings, notice, wait a second, that's not mine. My fear around money, not mine. My fear around sex, not mine. Right? Like, really
Mhm.
observing, I've been holding on to this for so many years, and it is just, it's not mine. I can let it go with love. Ooh, so powerful.
Yes, letting it go with love. And I was angry. I still am. I'm still
Yeah.
sad and angry for a lot of the damage that was done with that, and is still being perpetuated psychically, with it
Mm,
being a doctrine that hangs over our heads, really.
yeah.
But having the freedom to be able to parse together my own spirituality, and I know you teach a lot of this, like how to get authentic with your own spirituality
Mm,
so that you feel free, you feel joy, you can source love in a way that doesn't feel constricted because you're not bound by something exterior that's making you try to fit something into something that's not fitting.
yeah. Yeah, exactly that. And I loved how you framed that. I'll receive that as something I teach. And it is. I really believe that to be spiritual is not to follow a rule book. It's to really trust your own inner guidance as your greatest teacher. What feels good? Like that question, if we could just lead with that, what feels good? What a beautifully aligned life we would
Yeah,
live.
I want to just play devil's advocate for a second, because that
Yeah.
phrase, what feels good, is perpetuated as a statement of Satan. Do
I
you
did
know what
not
I'm
know that.
saying? Do you know where I'm going
But
with this?
yes, no, I know what you
So explore
exactly where
that
you're
a
going.
little bit.
Okay. Yes. Okay. This we're going there. So I think it brings it back to when you lead with what feels good, you're leading with your body. And we've been told and conditioned for years that the body's bad, the body's shameful. To experience pleasure is bad. It's that's a negative experience. I think it brings it back to the the external. When we forget about our body and when we leave the body, when we retreat it and just like go up into our heads and ignore all the symbols, we can easily follow. We can easily be guided by whoever it is that's wanting to guide us, government, leaders, whoever. But when we're so grounded into our bodies and we can feel so clearly what is for us, we become independent. We become our
Sovereigns.
own leaders, sovereigns. Exactly that. I was just about to say that. We become our own leader, our own savior, right? So then
that's
where
going to trigger some people.
Yeah. What if we are all our own savior, if we are all our own healer, if we are all our own guide, then where does government come to play, or where does external leadership come in? Like they're not needed, right?
Yeah,
so
and I look at it as a divine partnership, rather than me just playing this diminished role of a small human or one of many, shall we say, for God to keep track of. Savior to me means something very different than it meant years ago. To me now it's, hey, instead of you needing to save me from myself,
yes,
you're here to take me into my own divinity and lead me inside. Because Jesus said the kingdom of God is within you. It doesn't come by observation. It doesn't come by externals. It's let's brave this together. And I'm saving you from the falsehoods you believe about yourself and life, as opposed to I'm the problem. I'm the sinner. I'm so far off the mark that I need you to come and save me because I am so weak and all of these things. It's like Jesus was saying, ye are gods. I mean, at least that got canonized along with the kingdom of God is within you. So anyway, I just wanted to, for that being a trigger for some people to hear like you're your own savior. I think it's very much claiming your divinity to be able to say that. So I respect that you said that.
Yeah.
As much as it's going to trigger a lot of my listeners.
Yeah, no, it's interesting because in this is just my journey, like in my body, it feels so freeing, but it's really interesting. You're exactly right. Very triggering statement. So coming out of my mouth so easily felt really good for me, but exactly right. And I would second and agree with and align with everything that you just shared. It's this beautiful partnership with the divine in the sky, whatever it is that we relate to. It's this: we are them, they are us. We are divinely connected and together. So yeah, I second everything that you say.
Well, I feel like that's a great place for us to sort of wrap this up into a pretty package that it has become. And I know that you and I talked before and we're like, we don't know where this is going.
I know. So perfect. So perfect.
I think because you study law of attraction, I have too for many years. And it's like people find each other, souls find each other to affirm what's coming to them intuitively. And then when they start talking, they're like, oh, I got this. Yeah, this feels right in my body, and it's just like another witness. So I love that we found each other, and I don't know how we did. I just podcasting, whatever
Always
world,
divine. Yes.
But it was a divine connection. And so I know I'm going to be on your podcast as well. So it's just fun. How can people find you?
Yes. One, thank you so much for having me on. This was so much fun. Really honored to be here and shine my light to your listeners. You guys can find me. I hang out on Instagram. That's probably where I am at the most, at Mickaela McNatt. And then I do, as Cherie mentioned, I have a podcast called the Magnify More Podcast, which she will be on very soon. And we talk all things this right here: spirituality, alignment, a little bit of business. Come from a business background, so you'll see some business stuff on there, but we're really shifting into these types of conversations right here. So you can find me there. Instagram, podcast are my two places that I hang out pretty much daily. So
Beautiful.
Would love to invite you over there.
Yes. And there will be links in the show notes to where you can find Mickaela. Thank you. And thank you for some of the things that you said that actually resonated so deeply in me that I wrote them down, and I know that I need to take them to my meditation, and I love when that happens. So thank you for speaking your truth and leading me into my own even more.
You're so welcome. Thank you. I'm receiving. Thank you so much for having me.
The divinity of your humanness. It's a very real thing. Owning your human side and recognizing that as an all-inclusive divine being, you have to work with this body. It's your means to receive more as opposed to resisting and suppressing. You need to express, and you know this. But living inside yourself versus outside yourself and having that authenticity to radically forgive yourself, radically show self-compassion. And I loved what Mickaela talked about with your inner child, and that as your shadow side surface, you can bring that compassion in instead of just calling it this nasty ego. We all build up protections. We all build up walls. And so the beauty of our humanness is just embracing that and unconditionally loving ourselves to really receive and magnify and ground into that infinite abundance. Have a truly beautiful week. And I'll talk to you next time on Women Seeking Wholeness.